The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from today. I am so excited to be here for our August Power Panels webinar. I am Melissa DeSico, so I am the Director of Client Performance for SatisFacts and ApartmentRatings. And we have so much in store for you guys today. So if you don't remember what you signed up for, you're here for Unique Resident Events, our Power Panel. And we have an incredible panel of wildly creative multifamily professionals to talk to us today about their unique resident events. I can't wait to introduce you to them. But I did want to start by just giving you an overview of how we're going to go through the day today. So today's webinar will hopefully be about 60 minutes or so. And we will make sure that you get a follow-up email that includes the recording of this webinar and also the slides that you see on your screen today. In addition to that, the good news is you're all on mute, but we still want to make it as interactive as possible. So you can locate the questions box on your GoToWebinar control panel, and that's where you can make sure if you have any questions or you just want to ask something of any of our panelists today, that's where you can put your questions. And so I'll try to check that as often as possible, but I will for sure check it at the end to make sure we answer all of your questions, because we certainly want to make sure that you get as much out of today as possible. So please use that questions box. Don't be shy. In addition to that, at the very end, you will get an exit survey, and we are a feedback company and we would love your feedback. So rate us and comment on what you loved most. And then we may also feature you on our social media if you do put a comment in there. So please give us as much feedback as possible. And we want to make sure that these events are always things that you're looking for and that they're valuable to you. So please give us any kind of feedback that might help us make these better for you. In addition, we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up for next month. So if you've been on these before, you know we hold them the third Thursday of every month. So we do have what we will have for September. We will announce that at the end as well. And then if you stay till the very end, the good news is we are giving away a $50 Starbucks gift card. So learn how to get entered to win that as well. So lots of fun stuff today. In addition, as I mentioned, we hold these every month. So we have Power Panel webinars all the way from January that you can access on satisfacts.com. So if you go to satisfacts.com, in the top navigation, you'll see an education and resources section. And that's where you can find all of the previous GoToWebinar Power Panel sessions. So you can listen to them all there. There's all kinds of good information in there. So I really do hope that you check those out. There's a lot of different things on Epic in there, renewals, things like that. So you'll see there's a social media one too, which really plays well into what we're talking about today. But lots of different things out there. So you can always access those, even if you happen to miss the live webinar. All right, so let's hop into why we're here today. So we obviously all want to have amazing events, right? But why are we doing it? Why are we here? So, this one, if you've been on anything with SatisFacts, the most important thing to us is driving value at apartment communities. We want to make sure that we're helping our clients and all of you make sure that residents want to pay more to live at your community. So we want to know, how do we make that happen? So we've been tracking these value drivers since 2013. And what this is, so these are the things when we gave our survey results to researchers at Ball State University, we said, what's the most important things on this survey? And they said, well, really the only important thing is value for rent at an apartment community. And we're like, oh gosh, well, how do we make sure that we're driving that? And so every year they come up with the things that are driving their sense of value. Why do people want to live at our communities, and what would make them pay more? So when you look at this, when you look at 2013, you'll see things like quality of maintenance, office staff responsiveness. You'll even see community appearance and condition in there. And those were things at that time that drove value. People would pay more to live at a community that had those things. But what we've seen over the years, when things fall out of the top 5, so when things are no longer on this list, that means they've become a basic expectation, meaning I'll give you a 5 because that stuff is, it's a given, right? We're gonna have maintenance at our property. We're gonna have an office team that's gonna be responsive. So I'll still give you good scores on surveys, but I'm not willing to pay more for those things because that is a basic necessity. Those things you have to even get good scores on any kind of feedback survey. So when things are on this list, these are the things that are driving people to pay more or to not balk at, your rental increase at renewal time. So that's why these are so important. So sense of community, you can tell at the very top, has been there since the beginning without fault every single time. And that sense of community is really people's feeling of connection to our site teams. So do they feel connected to you personally? Do you know their name? Do they reach out to? Do they feel celebrated at your community? Those are things. They want to feel part of an exclusive club. That's what those things are to build that sense of community. And that's the number one driver. But as you can see, other things have kind of changed. So apartment appearance and condition has kind of gone up and down on the list, but it's always been there because they need something. They want to love where they live, right? But some interesting things that we've seen is that, if you notice in 2019, community events fell off the list. And as you remember, that means now they're expecting us to do events because that's just what apartment communities do. So it was out and then COVID hit and, all of us started scrambling. We started to try to do virtual things or things with no touch or social distancing and that kind of thing. So in 2021, they were like, my gosh, I missed those events. So they have a renewed sense of value in community events. And so it's popping back up there. It's moving up the chart. And that's why we're here. It's really those events now, we have higher expectations of what's going to happen at our community. So you can't just get away with our annual pool party anymore, right? Now it's a value driver. So we really have to step it up. And the interesting thing, so we actually talked to some renters and we found that COVID changed their perception of events as well, even if they never participated before. So I'm going to show you a quick renter sentiment here. Just one second as I move over to the video. So hopefully you guys could hear that. But the gist of it is, this resident never participated before, but we started offering virtual events because of COVID. And so now, not only are they participating, because now they started participating with virtual events because they had nothing else to do, but now they're interested. Like, what else does my apartment community do? Maybe I would like to participate. So really, it's not about, are we doing just live events? Are we making people connect in that way? But now they expect more from us, right? They expect to have some virtual options because we have introverts in our communities, right? Not everyone is an extrovert. So maybe some of those virtual events really helped some of our residents who aren't the kind that are going to go by themselves to a happy hour or something like that. So it's interesting. So now you've got them engaged. So now's the time to really focus on that because we know now we've got to wow them because they're willing to pay more for those events to happen at your property. So, and we all know too, with 2021, who knows what's going to happen? Our residents are still not sure of the future. They still may be working from home, so how can we make these events better? And as a note, So we also track. So excuse me, there we go. So when we look at our survey results for community-sponsored social activities and events, it's interesting. As I mentioned with those value drivers a minute ago, in 2020, it wasn't on that list of things that is going to really get them to pay more at your community. So like I said, they give high scores. Like, they do those things. They do events. That's what they do. So they were giving higher scores. But now in 2021, they have higher expectations. Like I mentioned, you had introduced virtual. You were probably overly communicative. And now they're like, well, now I have higher expectations, so you better do better. These aren't as good as I think they could be. So now we see when it's a driver, now we see higher expectations. So that number has gone down a bit in terms of their satisfaction with what our communities are offering. And interestingly enough, we see the same trend. If you're familiar with SatisFacts, we also do insight surveys, and these are touch point surveys. So at pre-renewal time, we ask them again, are you satisfied with your community-sponsored social activities and events? And the same phenomenon happened. In 2020, they were higher. And in 2021, like, hey guys, we got to step up our game. Now I'm interested in these events. Like, show me what you got. So keeping that stuff, now again, we're seeing a trend. So even when we look at all of our survey data in general, 2020 gave us a bit of a break. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because we love our residents and we love interruptions. But in 2020, our residents couldn't interrupt us. They couldn't come down to the office and have long chats, which I know all of us missed. But you guys, that gave us a little break, and that gave us a chance to focus on details, to get more organized, to really prioritize like what was going on in our office, communicate more, create more flyers, and do things on social media. So it gave us the time to do that. But now our residents can come back into our offices. They can interrupt us as much as possible. But the sad thing is they still have those high expectations of what we were doing in 2020. So all that communicating, all of the attention to detail, all of that stuff, now they want that in 2021, and they want better events. So that gives us a chance to talk with each other and figure out, what could we do differently to make sure that we're wowing our residents with events. And so I have this amazing panel of experts from the multifamily industry who have done amazing things. So I'd love for them to say hello after I introduce them. So if you can unmute after I say your name and say hello to everyone on the call today. So the first one is Kirsten Lacey, and she's the assistant manager at the residences at the Streets of St. Charles in Missouri. And she is with Trilogy Residential Management.
Hello, everyone.
Yay, thank you. Our next panelist is Randy Ireland, and she's the assistant manager at Penrose on Mass Apartments in Indianapolis with J.C. Hart.
Hey, everyone. Excited to be here.
And finally, we also have Rachel Coran. She is the community director with Steelworks in Atlanta, Georgia, and she is with Rangewater Real Estate.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be on this too.
Thank you, guys. So before we hear all of their fun things, we thought we would do a quick poll of everyone on the call today and find out what is it that you're looking for with your events. So our question today is, what is your toughest challenge when it comes to resident events? So we are going to launch this poll. And if you don't mind, on your screen, if you can just go ahead and click right on there, what is the toughest challenge when it comes to resident events at your community? So we'll give everyone a couple seconds to respond. We'd love to see what's going on at your community and what's the toughest thing that you're experiencing, because obviously coming up with the event and putting it on, there's all kinds of different variables. All right, give one more second. We'll get up to 70%. Get those votes in. So close, keep going. All right, we are at 70%, so we will go ahead and close, and I will share those results with you. So guys, it's looking like participation is where we're all struggling, and I think we can all feel that in our souls, right? I was talking to our panelists before this, the dreaded waiting in our office or in the clubhouse for people to come with, a case of wine, just waiting, and no one shows up. So our panelists will definitely talk about how they get their residents to participate in their events. So they have some really great ideas regarding that. Coming up with ideas. Hopefully that's why you're here today. So even if you don't put on exactly what our panelists talk about today, I think you'll think of something, or it may spark just an idea to everyone here. And again, our panelists will help us with those creative juices, get those flowing. So we will get moving. I think I want to see. Oh, all right. Let's go back. I will share my screen again here. Sorry for the delay. Guess I'd have to hide that poll for you. All right. So we are going to start today, like I said, with unique events. This is something that we all struggle with, not only participation, but as I mentioned, we can't just do just the annual pool party and that kind of thing. So when we're thinking about this, we want to do events that our residents will love. They're going to talk to their friends about. So each of our panelists has come up with their top 3 most unique events. So, they have probably tons that they could talk about, but we've tried to get them to whittle it down to 3 to talk to you guys about today. But the good news is they're going to share their information. So please use that questions box. Now's a good time. When they're finished talking, I will try to get any questions that you had for them specifically so that they can answer those questions. So put those questions in the questions box if something sparks your interest when they're talking, and we'd love to answer that. So we are going to get started, and these are just some fun events that I had found. So these aren't necessarily events that our panelists have put on, but like a chunky blanket workshop. So teaching people how to knit or sew in some way. And I love a good waffle bar, so that's always fun. And I know some people did like a chalk your walk contest and things like that. And then the last one I had on here was those painted rocks, just to add a little sunshine. So these are just some fun ones that I had as examples. But let's get into hearing what Kirsten does at the Streets of St. Charles. So we will move on. So Kirsten, if you can unmute, we would love to hear your top 3.
Yes, I am so excited. Marketing and just events are one of my favorite parts of our jobs, and it's just interacting with residents, and it gets people to stay. So I'd have to say our most unique and just most fun in general would be, we had an axe throwing event. So it was we didn't even think it was possible, but we had a current resident at the time work at a local axe throwing company. They were just getting started, and he helped us coordinate where they could bring an actual mobile axe throwing setup to our community, set it outside our parking lot, and we provided refreshments, raffled off some gift cards for their company and a big gift basket. I think there can be a lot of missed opportunities if you're not trying to utilize possible connections through your residents. If you notice that a resident works at a painting studio, you can ask them if they can come teach a class or anything like that. It makes things fun and fresh for us, and if we can help promote a local business along the way, I think it's a win-win for everybody. You can see in the middle there, people were having fun, and I'm no good at it, but I think there's definitely a lot of other people who can hit the target. Another one we did is we actually had Yoga 6. I'm sure they're very popular right now, but they were opening up a new location, and we're really lucky to have so many incredible businesses outside our doorstep here at the residences. But we reached out to their general manager to see if they would like to collaborate with us on a poolside yoga event. So they sent over an instructor and taught an hour-long class meant for beginners so that any resident at any fitness level could attend. And then we did RSVP style for anyone who wanted to sign up, and we ended up having a full pool deck. If you're anything like me, half the battle of working out is getting out the door. So I think it was great to have it on site where residents could just come downstairs or come to the clubhouse. And then after that, Yoga 6 was able to offer a special rate for them if they did want to continue a yoga journey. So I think that was really great. And then my last example, we actually had a local art gallery open up, and we reached out to them. And instead of just your regular like happy hour wine night, we had a pop-up with Missouri Artists on Main, and they did a special event just for residents. And we had an epic charcuterie board we made, very Pinterest-like, and had all types of different local wines, and several pieces of art were bought from that gallery. And I think it was a great way to encourage residents to get out and explore the neighborhood as opposed to just having something at the property. A good size of our demographic is contracted workers coming from across country to work for like Boeing and GKN. So I think it's great for them to like mingle, meet people, and get to acclimate to their new city.
Wonderful. And I love how you really do partner with, again, finding things that residents do, because it helps your resident as well. In addition, like you said, to give a fresh perspective in terms of what else could we do. I think that X throwing is so much fun. I hope that others can do that. I think that's so cool. But I love that you've partnered with people. I think that helps take a little bit of the burden off of the on-site team as well, given these new expectations, right?
For sure. And like it kind of helps them like get to talk and not feel that pressure of just being like in the clubhouse standing in the corner. Like there's actually like interactive things, because I'm a little socially awkward. So it's nice if I'm not just looking at my phone and I can look at a piece of art or throw an axe or something.
Absolutely. And I think one thing to note about you guys is you do a really good job of showcasing your events on social media as well. So it lets people know, what did that look like? Maybe I should go down to one of those events, because they come and they see like what it was like. So I'm similar to you, that social awkwardness. I'm not going to go somewhere by myself necessarily, but if I see kind of like how it looked and how I could maybe fit in, I think that helps me to just be more willing to participate as well.
100%.
Cool. I love those. Those are fantastic. All right. So we will move to, Randy, we'd love to hear your top 3 events as well.
Yes, so I'm going to probably echo Pearson a little bit when it comes to partnering with local restaurants, local businesses. I love getting off-site, and especially, I know some of you answered budget is sometimes hard to do when planning resident events. And when you partner with local restaurants or businesses, you both take on that burden, and it kind of can help lessen it, if you will, if you're not fronting the bill for all of it. So some things we like to do, we love doing happy hours at local restaurants. Typically speaking, they're normally more than an hour. We like to do about 2. But we will go and we will check out different places to eat. They normally sample some appetizers or, hot food menu items that are a big hit. And we normally front the cost for, the drinks. Everyone gets normally at least 1 drink on us. And the nice thing about this too is, like I said, you get off site, everyone's kind of in a more social atmosphere. But then what happens? Someone, tries some food or they get a drink. Normally speaking, they're not just going to stop there. They'll be like, hey, I want to stay a little bit. And then they'll start, ordering more food or ordering more drinks. So you're also then giving business to the restaurants as well. They're making money and everyone's still having a good time. A lot of times too, one of my favorite ones that we did with a local restaurant was Hedgerow, and it was just a beautiful winter night, and it was really cool. And they gave swag bags to all of our residents that came, and the residents walked in, and it was just really cool that they got a little gift and they had an awesome time. And then lastly, as far as, getting out in businesses and restaurants and whatnot, brewery tours, or my favorite one that we did was we had the Bottle Works district open up just right down the road from us. And they were actually voted in Time Magazine's World's Greatest Places to Visit in 2021. And I set up a tour of their facilities with the residents. And so our residents got to privately tour this beautiful brand new, district and building, and they got to see everything and they got to learn more about it. And it's super great too, because if your community doesn't have like a place where relatives can stay on site when they come to visit, they then were like, hey, they just checked out this awesome hotel that's literally not even half a mile down the road. And so our residents will have their family, friends, whoever, when they come to visit, they're like, hey, go stay there. And it's really close too. So I am a big fan of just partnering with everyone and then kind of moving on. So let's say there's a big event happening, whether that be, you know, a sporting event or a cool concert. One thing that we did, we are lucky enough to be located next to, I like to say, if you're from Indy, you call it the Murat. If you're not from Indy, it's the Old National Center, but it's a concert venue. And they had a really cool 80s night, and I met with them and I was like, hey, if you guys ever have tickets that you would happily give us, you know, we can distribute those to our residents. And they hosted a really fun 80s night, and we had a fun 80s pregame party before the concert. So everyone came in their 80s attire. We had a great time. And then we all walked over to the concert together. And so people are mingling and hanging out before, but then they're also going to an event that you're not necessarily hosting, but then they get to go all have fun together. And then my last one would be, so kind of touching back on that, you know, chunky blanket workshop. Anything that our residents can make or do that is interactive. One of my favorite things that we did at my previous community was build your own terrariums. And as you see in that picture, they're aesthetically pleasing and beautiful, but they're also super easy and fun to make. And it's super easy. You can do those virtually. You can do them in person. Some other things I've heard is like paint your pet. So you have people that come out and you would make a stencil of your pet and then you can paint it, candle making, anything that you can kind of give as a good, that's a fun time too. So those are kind of some fun ideas that we've done here as well.
I love those pre-party ideas. I think that, you know, getting people involved in the community is maybe one of the biggest things that we focus on in general in our industry, because we want them to stay. So we not only want them to be connected to us, right, but we want them to feel connected to where they live so that they don't want to leave. So I think that that's brilliant in terms of making sure that people feel that connection. They start to love the restaurants. They start to love the people they live around, their neighbors. Because as you saw on that value drivers thing, neighbors are one of the top drivers as well. So the more that we can get them to be friends, right, that makes a big difference. Have you seen that?
Oh, 100%. We held an event at, it's across the street, it's called Salt. And it's a really lovely seafood restaurant. They fly, you know, fish in daily, like it's beautiful. And their manager, Johnny, has a good group of Penrose residents that now visit him on the daily or, you know, weekly for their own little wine nights and things like that. So it's really fun when your residents not only make friends in the building, but then also make friends with the community members around your building too.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. All right. So thank you, Randy. So let's talk to Rachel. What do you have going on over there, Rachel?
Well, the community is definitely something that we like to get involved with as well. And so, you know, we've done we do one, I feel like every spring and fall, with doing the bouquet bars. And so as you see, these are fall flowers. So we've worked with local florists, and you know, we have them come. So a florist comes to the event, and they'll explain how to organize the flowers, how to make a good bouquet, along with talking about the flowers. So it doesn't just, you know, promote an event for us, but also helps out the flower shop, you know, so then people are informed about where it's located, and it's just, you know, a nice little thing to take home with you, you know, because I definitely love the idea of taking something home, not just going to an event and, you know, meeting your neighbors, but meeting them in a different way and experiencing different experiences. We also like to incorporate crafty parties, and so these are, let me see. Oh, well, actually, you don't have the crafty parties up there, so we won't talk about that because it was almost the last one we talked about that a little bit. But the goat yoga is amazing. We've actually have everybody asking us if we can do it every month, and so we've had it at the community 2 or 3 times. And so it's fun, comforting. Everybody loves animals, and goats are you know, very friendly. So we have a company come, they bring out the goats, they're miniature goats, And, it's a really fun event that everybody really enjoys. And after it, we'll typically incorporate, maybe since it's yoga, we might have a smoothie company come, and they actually offer this to us free because once again, it's marketing for them. And they talk about where they're located. They'll offer smoothies. We've even had maybe some of the yogurt bowls that come out. And so there's a company that's local around here too. And we'll incorporate that in just for the healthy living, with yoga and fresh eating. And we've also done hot yoga outside of the community. So there's a company called Hotworks, and they're about, a mile away from us. And they offer a free class. And so we have everybody come there, and, that was a hit. I mean, everybody RSVPs to it, so we make sure that we have enough space for everybody. And then they're informed of a local business that they can go to that they might not have known about before. And so, we've got, movie night is, not movie night, it's game night. Everybody has a different idea of game night. Some people might say, oh, bring the board games, but board games can only include maybe 2 to 4 people. And so we want to try to incorporate more people in our games. And who doesn't love college games? I mean, we all love to go back to, we provide beer pong. We'll have this game that you see up at the front, top right, is actually where you have to blow the cup around the obstacles. And it's very funny. Everybody's having a great time cheering everybody on, and you can have as many people play this game. So it's just a really fun. So you come up with unique games that you can have a bigger group, because at these events you might have 20 or 30 people or more show up. And we also have different tables. So each one of my team members is at a table, sort of constructing the game and everything. So and that's one thing too, is always have your team members there, to get to know everybody, to get to know the residents. I always want almost all my team members to be there, and if they need to come in later or something, to attend, then we definitely do that. We do gardening night. That's really fun. We like to do that with Earth Day primarily. So I like to incorporate that in, where we provide plants, they pot it, and then they can take it home with them. So we've also done with gardening night, we incorporated, cleaning up the community. If we had a street that wasn't that far away, we would, pick up trash and provide bags and everything and gloves for everybody, so that they feel like they're not just, they're doing something for the community. So it's great to see that. And then you'll see my little box of sunshine down here. Every so often, I'm sure you all hear of a resident that's having a hard time, especially during COVID, people losing their jobs. Maybe you heard of, somebody might have lost their mother, father, grandparents, something. And so we like to send this little box of sunshine. We go to the dollar store and just get some yellow items and just put it in a box. It's typically cost us everywhere from, $10, $15, $20, just depending on how much we put in it. And you'd be amazed with how much joy that little gift can provide for that person. And we've had people cry to us. We've had people, they post on social media, just saying, hey, look what my apartment community did for me. And that's a great way for us to get free marketing. People see that and they're like, wow, I want to live at this community. I didn't realize management could be this awesome and caring. So it's all about social media and reposting things, and about the events and everything as well. So yeah.
I love all of these. I want to participate in goat yoga so badly.
I know I gave you a lot of stuff, so I'm glad you put more. We have a lot of ideas here.
I know, and everyone had so many good ideas, so it was hard to just narrow it down to 3, right? So I wanted to give everyone participating today just a little glimpse of some other things that we're doing. And so I don't know who wants to answer this on my panel, but someone was asking about sort of blue collar is their demographic at their community. Are there any events that you've done that may be more directed towards that demographic?
So I'll just throw out some, I guess. So I probably will touch about it in the next section, but yeah, hosting events that fit the vibe of your residents. So if you kind of have a more blue collar family type of vibe at your community, one of my last communities I was with, we did like a movie night, for an example, but it was like a cookout. So we cooked out, and then if people wanted, it was kid friendly, and so if people wanted to bring their kids, we had a big screen that we projected. It was when Beauty and the Beast, the live action one, came out, and we put that one up there, and everyone was, had their lawn chairs and their popcorn. So something kind of that you can do at your more suburb communities, that's still fun and different, that is not a typical amenity at your community, but that's still there. I also like to say my blue collar workers love to drink as well. So if you have any cool breweries around you, brewery tours are free for the most part. Have, mom and dad drop the kids off and then go on out and kind of have a beer or two. So anything that I like to say that fits your residents and their vibe is very important to keep in mind. So something like that I always think is good for, people that want to have a good night but don't necessarily want to go out.
Good examples. And I think too, if you, not that all blue collar are kid related either, but I think a lot of these, like, kids would love to, plant a plant or, do some of those crafty things that Rachel was talking about too. So if you have some things you can do, I know, Rachel, I think you were the one that sent over, the ornament making in, closer to the holidays and things like that, with that kids can do, that is more interactive, that's kind of fun too. I thought that was cute. All right, so let's move on to that engagement piece. I think we all hit on that because I think, inherently when we talk about events, we're like, well, how do we get people there? So, Rachel, I thought maybe we'd start with you. And you kind of mentioned some of this already. I think it's so important for social media to be included because that's obviously not the reason that we're doing these events, but it's certainly a nice benefit of doing it. So getting that, so people wanting to participate from those posts on social media, but what do you do specifically to get people to come to your events?
Well, residents send us emails all the time, every day. We like to put the flyer at the end of our reply. So, and then just in the sentence, with whatever you're talking about, say, hey, hope you can make the event this Saturday, or, whenever it is. And then, tell them below is the flyer about it. Because a lot of people, they don't check our emails from us when we send out, notifications about events or whatever. They sort of just ignore it. And so that's a great way, because a lot of people have responded saying, wow, didn't even know about this. So I'm excited. We ask the residents to come to our events. Whenever I see them in the hallway, say, hey, don't forget about the event. Or if they're in the office, hey, come to the event. I think you're going to really like it, especially if you think it's going to cater to them. We get to know our residents, and we sort of know, what they like and don't like. And so we definitely, throw it out that way. Putting reminder stickers on packages. I have a package locker here, so I'm not really able to do it like I did before, but some of you might have package rooms. And so if you have the package room, you can go in there and just put stickers of, what the events are for the whole month, so that they'll see that, because it's right in their face as they're walking to their apartment. They've got the package in hand, and they can read, what events we have going on. We also do, of course, posting flyers within the community. I used to do in the past only posting that one flyer. Now I post the whole month so that they can see, hey, I've got yoga going on this week. I have boot camp. I have, happy hour, or whatever it may be, movie night. And so they can see the whole month of what we have going on that whole month. And then, of course, everybody's posting social media, I'm sure. We like to post stories too, so that pops up in their face because everybody's bored at work or whatever, and then they start looking at stories and seeing what's going on. So that reminds them of what we have, and we usually will, you know, post a picture, you know, not just a flyer, but post something that has to do with that. So like I said, if it's goat yoga, we're posting a picture of a goat and having it fun on there. And then, you know, when they're at the events too, you know, I always post to my social media, and you would be amazed with, I get a dozen, you know, messages saying, hey, oh my gosh, I'm looking for an apartment, or I have a friend looking for an apartment. You guys throw really fun events. These look great. And, you know, and then also asking residents, hey, post this to social media, you know, it's so that they get the word out that way too, of how much fun they can have. And, you know, and just to also get their friends to come, because we are more than happy to have welcome in their friends, family, or whatever to any of our events. So it's not just the residents that we offer it to. We offer it also to friends and family. So they're more than welcome to come.
I love that. Yes, let's get as many people there as possible, right? All right. Let's go to Randy. So what are you doing? I love what Rachel was saying about the Facebook stories. I think that is overlooked, and you know, we hadn't used it. It's kind of a new thing. Well, new, new-ish. But I think that gives us an opportunity to just be in that stream of things that they're looking at, because sometimes it won't pop up in their feed if we just have a post on social media. So really using those stories, I think that's a really good point about leading up to the event, putting little teasers out there. I think that's a really solid idea for getting some additional exposure with your event. So good call on that. So Randy, what else do you guys do?
Yeah, no, we're same vibe for sure. Definitely utilizing social media as far as stories, and kind of staying on that point. What I love to do is I like to call it hyping up the place before we visit. Most of the time, if I go and I plan an event, I will more than likely pop in and talk to them at their business. And while I'm there, I'll take pictures and really highlight where we're about to be and kind of get them excited for it. But before I even do that, I like to, of course, you know, host events that fit the vibe of my residents. We're in a very social part, very fun part of Mass Ave. I like to say we definitely have a very social building, which is great. But I'm not going to necessarily have my residents attend something that they wouldn't enjoy. And I gauge their interest by sending out like a survey, you know, and that survey can cover multiple things. You know, what days of the night work best for you? You know, do you prefer, you know, a Thursday night? Do you prefer a Tuesday night? Do you prefer 4? Do you prefer 6? Kind of getting a good gauge of where the majority of my residents are available. So that way I know, like, okay, Wednesday nights are not great for 70% of my building. I'm not going to have a resident event on a Wednesday night then. And so really just making everything geared towards their availability as well as your own too, of course. But then also sending out notice plenty in advance. We love to send a sign up sheet. We love an RSVP. It allows us to gauge not only interest, but then how many people are going to be there. And it also, I think, kind of puts a little weight on the event. You know, when someone RSVPs to an event, they've committed, you know, to going to that event. So if they've not signed up or they haven't done anything, they're less likely to attend. We've noticed that with our signups, we have seen a huge growth in participation because they've already committed. And then they feel bad if they don't go because they like us in the office. You know, we like to think so anyways. And they want to be there. And so anytime if something comes up, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I RSVP'd, but I won't be able to make it. But a lot of times they're like, yeah, I RSVP'd, so I'm here, and they end up enjoying it as well. So I'm just a big fan of asking for feedback and getting recommendations. We have residents that'll pop in and say, hey, did you see this place? We would love to have an event there. If one of my residents says that they want to, you know, potentially have an event somewhere, I'm going to try my hardest to have an event there. It may not be as crazy as it could be if it's a bigger place or a little bit more expensive, but I'm going to try to do something so I'm listening to my residents and I'm trying to provide them with good service and a fun night out. So really feedback is key, and hyping it up and just making it a good time for everyone.
I love those. That's wonderful. Obviously we love feedback, so that falls right in there. Yeah. Yeah. And even at events, I'm sure you can ask too when they're currently participating, like, what made you come down? What else could we do differently that would make you want to come more often? So getting that feedback either in person or, in the form of a survey monkey or whatever, are awesome. All right. So Kirsten, what else have you done to get people engaged?
Well, Randy and Rachel did a great job, and I think we're all kind of on the same page about like consistently posting in different forms, like on your stories, on Facebook, on Instagram. Like we printed out like little invitations and like put them on doors with like a little sneak peek of the event or something. So if you're doing, just like something one-off, like a pool party, like we attached little lifesavers to a bag with the invitation to everyone's door saying like, hey, you'd be a real lifesaver if you came to the event. And it's just like adding that little personal touch. So maybe someone who may be on the shy side would be like, oh, they're making a connection and like they really want to see us there. And then I think in line with that, just being consistent, like, are you having consistent events, whether they're big or small? That way, like, it kind of keeps that energy going of, hey, this isn't just a one-off thing. Like, we're always a community. Like, we're always doing something to interact, and we'd love to see you. And I think Rachel said something about, like, you're in the hallway, you're just saying, hey, Bob, I'd love to see you at the art gallery this weekend. Like, are you coming? And then what we've done that's actually people have said, hey, thanks, is someone said, hey, I don't get off till 7:30. I really wanted to come. We're like, hey, can we save you food? Like, can we put it inside your door? Like, just reaching out, and like people who can't make it, it adds that, like, it means a lot if you came. So that's really worked out for us. And then when we do work with a local business, we're getting them to promote it too. So they're posting it on their social medias and hanging up flyers for us. So it reaches a greater number of people and more people come because, we always overbuy. We're going to overbuy wine. We're going to overbuy food just so there's plenty for everyone. And then getting friends to come. And I think we're kind of all on the same page on that as well.
Great ideas. Yes. I think consistency is so important. So have them all the time so that people know they have an opportunity to come. So I think those are good pieces of advice. So in addition, so I know we're all this fun talk of all the events. I don't want to run out of time today. So in addition, obviously we know that having events helps create that sense of community that we're talking about, because we're creating personal connections with our residents when we're there. So hopefully we're in there mingling, all those things. But we wanted to talk to our panelists about what benefits are you seeing outside of the obvious, right? What else are you seeing? So Randy, why don't you start with some benefits you've seen as a result of your events?
Yeah, so one of the things was our online reputation. So we are very big into Instagram. Our demographic here is definitely a little bit more Instagram as opposed to Facebook. We still post on there, of course, but our Instagram, and like I said, with us hosting events with different businesses and retailers and restaurants in the area, we love displaying how cool our community is in our neighborhood. So we will always post and tag the businesses and share. And what this does is it shows your potential residents and your current residents, things that are around them, but it also gives shout outs to the businesses, and then they are excited. And then they'll reshare, and then, opens up, okay, this person loves to eat here. Well, this, apartment community is right next door. Well, hey, I'm looking for a new place to live, and it's right next to my favorite restaurant. Why not? Or it's right next to one of my favorite places I love to visit. So just, having those good connections and displaying them is so important. And definitely as far as referrals. So yes, if you are having a resident event and Billy Bob wants to bring his friend, yes, Billy Bob, you can bring your friend. We want to display how awesome our community is. And a lot of times we'll have residents that, families in town or friends want to come, and they'll bring them. And it's so fun to me when residents bring friends and then those friends end up becoming residents. They had a great time at the event. Our residents get referral bonuses. So, hey, why not bring your friends along? But then if they move in, you get some money as well. So it's kind of a win-win there. And really the big thing is retention. I mean, I like to say you could throw a rock and hit an apartment building. It's not hard. But really what makes your community important or stand out is your sense of community. And you build that by allowing people to build connections with their neighbors. I've like to say here, anytime I have to, talk to a resident, it's so nice when everyone is kind of friends or they know one another. And it's been lovely because you can have conversations and they build these friendships, and then they'll be out on the town. And I love introducing people to one another. So if I have an event and I think, Kelly is really going to get along with Brittany, I'm going to be like, hey, Kelly, this is Brittany. She has a dog that's similar to yours. Or when I first met you guys both, you guys reminded me of each other. And having them interact with one another really helps draw that sense of community in, and everyone's enjoying one another. And so it's like you have your own little neighborhood or fun community inside your community where people just get along. So those resident events can really be a great meeting opportunity, but also playing your role in that as well. Being that connecting piece between your people is so important.
Yeah, so Kirsten, did you have anything else to add to the benefits that you've seen?
Yeah, so I like to say you can't make people love where they live, but you can make it almost impossible not to love where they live. So kind of branching off what she was saying, we actually have a group of people we like to call our pool crew here at the Streets of St. Charles, and they're actually, none of them knew each other before moving here, but now they all come to every event together, they go on trips together, they go to restaurants together, and it's actually so cool to see because they're all different ages, like work at different fields, but now they've created a community for themselves. And now if a new resident does move here from somewhere, like say, like one of us is from Atlanta. So if we have someone from Atlanta come here to St. Louis, they would actually like take it upon themselves to be like, hi, welcome to the residences. Like, we love living here. We've lived here for 3 or 4 years and we plan on staying here for a long time. And I think just putting that good energy out there and like having the events that people like coming to has just had a ripple effect, whether they're going to stay and they're telling people how much they like it. And we don't need to ask them to, they just really believe in it. And it's so cool.
I love that. You have like a welcoming committee. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. And how about Rachel? Did you have anything else to add?
One thing is when applicants, come and visit us or even haven't applied in, a week or two, then we'll actually send them the invitation to our resident events as well. And so I'm just letting them know, hey, this is what we're doing. If you want to come visit and meet some of your neighbors, and see how much fun we have at our events. And then, it makes them also, because we send them a link to our Instagram, and they can go on there and look and see, some of the events that we've done. And also they usually go on there and they like us then, so it's helps with, gaining that as well. So yeah, and then just getting the word out there, in different unique ways.
I love that too. I think all the things that you guys said, it's really making you sticky, right? It's making them, it's worth it to pay more because they feel so connected. They feel like they can't get what they get at any other community like they get at yours. And so that's really making you sticky, making those retention rates go up. So I think that's incredible. So I know we're running low on time and I want to make sure that our audience has a chance to ask some questions. So find that questions box if you can. And put some questions. I see a couple in there already, so we'll answer those in just a minute. But if you have other questions for our panelists, we'd love to hear those. So we'll do that in just a second. So I thought I would hit us up with a few key takeaways just to sort of sum up what we've heard today. So these are a couple of our pictures from our events from our panelists as well. They're so cute. So I thought I'd share those. But when we're thinking about our events and unique resident events, I think our panelists summed it up really well. So consistency. So I love how we're posting things like the whole calendar so people can pick and choose what they want to go to. But then also, marketing those individual events. But I think visibility is something that we forget about often. It's not just a one-time, we're going to send an email and let you know. It's hitting them in different ways. Kirsten said, we're going to put little lifesaver things on their door. We're going to put it in stories. We're going to post it on the newsletter. We're going to post it on a normal flyer. We're going to ask them, and we're asking them personally in the hallway. We're sending it in an email that they, it wasn't just an event email. It was an email we were responding to a question. So making that super visible. And something we also talk about is social media. And so, we often in multifamily have thought of that in the past as like a lead generation source. So when I see apartment communities posting all about their vacant apartments, which, okay, sometimes is wonderful, but we really need to think about social media as a resident retention tool. It's about showing the lifestyle at your community. So hopefully you're taking pictures at those events and you're posting them, because when, even when you're making a connection with a prospect and you say, hey, if you don't mind, like us on Facebook, check us out, see what we do here. And that really shows them the lifestyle. So it helps you make a connection. They say, oh my God, I want to be part of that. And no one else is offering that to them. So if you're posting it on social, share it with your prospects. I know Rachel mentioned that as well as a way to do that. See the events, invite them to the events. Those are super important. I think the second takeaway is really keeping a healthy mix of virtual and live. If 2020 taught us anything, it's that you're going to expect the unexpected. Who knows what's going to happen in 2021 for the rest of this year and next year. So keeping some virtual stuff, incorporating the live events as much as possible, but keeping a healthy mix of both of those to get our residents involved, because you do have different personalities. And then in addition to that, if you go to SatisFacts.com, in the education and resources section, you'll see we did a COVID virtual event sort of thing. So you can see some additional ideas there if you're interested in just virtual ideas. On SatisFacts.com, you'll find that in the COVID-19 section under education and resources. And last but not least, for a key takeaway, like I said, it makes you sticky. It helps build a community. You're inherently building a connection with your residents, which is what we're looking for in that sense of community. It just gives you another way to do that, to build that connection personally with your residents. So hopefully you're all doing those things. Again, it's important, if you want it to be worth the rent increase to stay at your communities. That's what these events are really doing. So I will stop talking. I know we had at least one really good question. Let me go check that out. If you haven't put in your question, put it in now. But we had, so this one, and I don't know who on our panel wants to answer this, but how does your team manage the workload of planning, promoting, and executing the events on top of the other stuff that the team has to do? And they were asking, do you have a dedicated events manager, or does the leasing staff put that together? So does anyone on our panel want to answer that question for our audience?
I actually can. We actually have a resident coordinator. Now, she's my assistant manager, and she does live on site. And so if your owners approve, or if management owns the property, she does get a discount on top of the other discount that she gets. So she does this outside of work. So she doesn't really do any of the events during her 40 hours in the office, and she will do it outside. One great thing is she actually does events on the side. So she's got a lot of the items that, we need for decorating and certain things like that. But that is something, that's been wonderful with her, so being here.
Great. I think I worked with a group in St. Louis as well, and they actually had a resident committee that would plan the events. And so they would let them know what the budget was, and their residents would actually meet monthly and come up with kind of the calendar for the next month or whatever it was. And they had a group of residents. And so you just had someone who would check in with them, make sure everything was okay, and they'd get it approved before they did it. But it kind of got them to hold each other accountable. It got them involved in it, because they were the ones that putting it on. So they wanted people to show up if they were going to do it. So I thought that was a cool idea as well that I was a part of. I think that's a neat option as well. Did anyone else on the panel have any other thoughts on that?
I just have a thing that we kind of do here at the Streets of St. Charles. So because not everyone, is willing to do it after hours, or we don't have a ton of flexibility on that, we just kind of add a little part to each of us. So we have an assistant manager, a manager, and a leasing professional here at our site. And it's each of our jobs to post at least once or make one interaction in regards to an event leading up to it. So like each week we're responsible for at least one post, story, something like that. And we usually end up making more than that, but I think it helps divide the workload and also maintain that consistency that's so important.
Really important points. And I think a lot of you mentioned too, you're partnering with businesses too. So giving some of the workload onto that kind of helps too. So all those different things, I think those are really great points. The only other question we had today was about someone starting a running group. And so they were asking about liability in case, someone twists an ankle or something. So that one I would just recommend reaching out to your corporate office, seeing what that looks like to make sure that you don't, get any kind of trouble with that. But I think that that's a really good idea too. Those running groups are finding out what your residents do and then creating groups and things like that. I think that's a really good point from our audience member. So if it's a Facebook group or just a group that meets, that you've organized through your community, I think those are really cool ideas too. So I know I'm running low on time, so we will move to thank our panelists. So you guys did amazing. I want to live at all your communities, super cool events. So thank you all so much. Much appreciated today. Just so you guys know, our next webinar is coming up in September. We're celebrating teams in September. So if you have someone that is on site that does an amazing job with celebrating teams at their community, we would love to hear from them. So let us know if you know someone that can participate in our next panel, because we want to share your expertise as well. So if you have someone that would be great at that, let us know. And we'd also love for you to suggest future topics. So let us know if there's something you want us to cover in our next Power Panels webinar. So I mentioned we were going to give away a $50 Starbucks gift card. So here's how it works. So we will post an hour after the webinar. So make sure you go to Facebook at SatisFacts or Instagram at SatisFacts Education and follow us on one of those platforms. And then you will find an audience rating post an hour after the webinar. So if you like that post and comment on it with maybe anything you want to say, and then also the little money emoji, you'll be entered to win that $50 Starbucks gift card, and that'll close at 5 p.m. Pacific tonight. So we will announce that winner tomorrow. So always loving that Starbucks goodness. In addition, like I said, the next webinar, we have it the third Thursday of every month. So you will see on September 16th at the same time, same place, we will be celebrating teams, and we'd love to have you there. So last but not least, make sure you take that exit survey at the end. We would love to hear from you and make this better as we move on. So again, thank you to our panelists. Thank you for everyone who joined us. We had such a good time. So thank you, panelists. If you want to say goodbye to everyone.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful Thursday.